Today I'll be taking you through the steps of how to create a bottling work order. Once you've logged into the portal, click on Bottling Work Orders. This is on the left-hand side of your screen underneath Production. This is where your bottling work orders will be present, and you will also be able to note the status of your bottling work order. Depending on how many processed work orders you have on this page, you can use the filters at the top of your screen to see individual work orders. To create a new work order, click Add. Most of the fields on this page will need to be filled in before the work order can be submitted. However, you can start a work order and save it without all of the fields being filled in. This allows for companies that have 2 people filling in work orders, for example the winemaker and the logistics staff, to save half completed work. To begin, you will need to enter a client work reference in the client work order reference section. This will help you to identify this production run. The next section to be entered is the run date. This can be entered by using the calendar icon. The bottling plant section is where you can select the bottling plant that you would like to use. You can use the drop-down to select Marlborough, Hawke's Bay or Auckland. The next section is where you can enter your production run number. If you are unsure on what your production run number is, you can find it in the production bookings calendar. The client batch code section is where you can enter what you would like to refer to this batch of wine by. For example, this could be your internal lot code. You will then need to enter the Startup Winemaker in the Startup Winemaker section. The wine volume, wine variety and wine vintage will then need to be entered. Please note that the wine volume will be in litres. A good tip here is that instead of using the drop-down and scrolling through the many different options, you can type in the tab to find what you would like. By doing so, you will be presented with a filtered list of options. The last cellar filter date and filtration types are the next sections to be filled out. The last cellar filter date is just for lab reference. The CO2 and SO2 sections is where you can enter the desired range of dissolved carbon dioxide and dissolved oxygen at the time of bottling. For wines that are transported by tanks, Wineworks will put a gas cover on before and during bottling. This is where you can choose which gas cover you would like to use. If you are creating this bottling work order for a sparkling wine, please select carbon dioxide as the bottle gas cover. If not, please select nitrogen. In the wine transport method section, you can expand the drop-down to select what you would like. If you would like an option which is not listed, you can select Other. You will then need to enter what wine transport method you would like in the Additional Instructions section at the bottom of the page. In the Export Certification section, please select what you require from the drop-down. If you are unsure on what to select here, please contact Wineworks using the appropriate contact details that are listed below. The Organic section is where you can select whether the wine is organic. If you need any assistance with completing a bottling work order, please use the following email addresses and contact numbers for the lab in Auckland, Hawke's Bay or Marlborough. Once complete, click here to save. Once you have saved the bottling work order, you will need to add the bill of materials. This can be completed by scrolling to the bottom of your screen and clicking Add New Bill of Materials. If you would like to learn how to create a bill of materials, please refer to our Creating a Bill of Materials tutorial. And if you have already created a bill of materials but it hasn't been processed by WineWorks, it will appear on the list of available bill of materials as a draft. To select a particular bill of materials, in the Bill of Materials section, start typing the description of the bill of materials or the stock code. The list of the available bill of materials will appear based on what you have entered. You cannot select a bill of materials from a different vintage to the wine in the work order header. The only exception is that you can select non-vintage for any vintage. Please note that you'll be able to select a different variety to what is in the header, so care will need to be taken here to select the correct bill of materials. You will then need to select the amount of cases that you would like to process in the Cases to Process section. In the Case Variability section, you can select between plus or minus or exact. In this example, if we were to select exact, WineWorks would produce exactly 123 cases, as we specified above. Whereas if we selected plus or minus, it would be until a certain point. For example, the last bill of materials for a bottling run will always be plus or minus depending on the volume of the wine. You may also want to use this if you wanted to run out the available cartons or labels. In this case, you will need to advise WineWorks of the details in the additional notes section. The next section is where you can specify if this will need to be an immediate dispatch or not. If you have any additional instructions which you would like to be included, please enter them here. Once complete, click here to save. You can continue to add the bill of materials until all products have been added. There is no limit to the number of bill of materials that can be added. Once you have added more than one bill of materials, arrows will be present next to each of the bill of materials. These can be used to reorder the selected bill of materials. If the bottling work order is ready for processing, you can scroll back up to the top of your screen and click here to submit. But please keep in mind that once you click submit, you will not be able to make any further changes to the work order. If you choose not to submit the bottling work order, it will remain on the bottling work order page as a draft. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you can now confidently create a bottling work order.